Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel where I'm tracking my journey to become an Ironman. Probably seen, or I've said it before, I look after my beard myself, and given it's such a huge part of my everything, as beards are for beard people, sometimes you have to get a professional to do the hard bits. So it's trim time. Ta-da! Had the sides cleaned up, feeling like myself again. One of the major downsides to running outside, for me personally, is recording. Because keeping this camera steady whilst I'm running takes so much focus that I can't concentrate on cadence, pace, heart rate, anything. Another major downside with outdoor runs is the weather. I'm halfway around this run today right now and it started raining. It's very inconsistent, it's very annoying, but it is what it is. It's the British weather, what can I expect? See, it stopped. It's very British weather right now. Who knows? The first pro I can think of for me personally about running outdoors is the lack of people. I am on this trail near where I live. There is no one, so I can be as weird as I want. I can let my personality shine, as it were. In the gym I have to pretend to be normal-ish because I don't want them to tell me I have to stop recording, and also I don't want to weird anyone out. So yeah, let the personality shine whilst outside in the relative sunshine-ish. Seriously though, there are pros and cons to running on a treadmill versus running outside trail runs or road runs, depending on what you're training for or what you enjoy the most. And in my last 6 months of training, here are a few that I have discovered. So this is what we're actually here for, today's video. Is it better to run on a treadmill or outside on the road? I've got some pros and cons that I've weighed up from personal experience. Use what you will from it, take what you want, but this is how I've found it. This is my opinion. So I want to put a caveat, say, at the beginning of this. I don't recommend doing all of your training on just the road or all of your training on just the treadmill, because they do both have pros and cons. And me personally, I do about 25% of my training on a treadmill and the other 75% is road running. It's outdoors, it's getting out and about, it's seeing the world. Because you should always train in the same or as close to the same environment as you're gonna race in. And that's coming from somebody who's training to do an Ironman. So, the Ironman is outside, I do a lot of training outside. Anyway, enough of that. Pros and cons. We will start with the treadmill, or as people who really don't like it call it, the Treadmill. Now, obviously, I live in England and the weather here is shocking 80% of the time. It's been British summer already. We've had our 10 days of nice weather. It is now back to raining again. I'm looking out the window and it's raining. If I was on a treadmill right now, I would be in perfect situation to be avoiding weather. It would be absolutely fine. No wet shoes, no wet socks, comfortable. That is the first major pro of a treadmill. You can control your entire environment. If you want to turn the aircon up, you want to turn the gradient up, you want to lower the speed by ½ mile an hour, it's all right in front of you on the clicker. Press whatever buttons you want, it works like that. Keeping along the lines of controlling your entire environment, you have 100% accuracy on your pace, on the incline of the treadmill, of your cadence effectively. You can control every single aspect of the workout you're doing, which is great. And then that leads us on to our third point. Because there are no variables, you can focus on, set your pace at 6, 7, 8 miles an hour, however fast you want to run, and you can focus on your stride, how your foot lands, basically just your technique. You can put all of your focus on that because you don't have to worry about jumping up the next curb or going around the next corner, making sure you don't trip over the mum just down the road with a pram, because there's no prams on the treadmill, probably. So they are the 3 major pros of a treadmill. A couple of cons, because there are many. I've rounded it down to 2 of the major cons that I think of on a treadmill, and this is the flip side of the first pro. You can't acclimatise to your weather. If you're racing in the heat or in the cold or in the rain or in the snow, I don't know if there's snow races. Anyway, you can't acclimatise when you're inside of a gym on a treadmill. It's just, you can't do it. So that is the major con that I can think of when it comes to treadmill training. Second con, you might not think of, but it's something I've noticed training on a treadmill fairly consistently. Like I say, I don't do all of it, but I do enough to notice. The twitch fibres in your ankles and your knees that keep you moving forward, they are the thing that balance you when you have your impact, when you put your next foot down. That same motion over and over and over again can cause damage. If you're running at a 7-mile pace, you could have 1,000 impacts on the treadmill in exactly the same motion and exactly the same pace, in exactly the same position, and that's not good for your legs. And that is why I would not recommend solely training on a treadmill, because you have no variation. You don't have the curves to jump up, or the corners to go around, or the pram people to avoid. But there you go. On the flip side of that, we have road running. This is where I do 75% of my training. This is where the excitement comes, because you get to see the world, you get to see what's going on, the trees, the sun, sometimes the rain most of the time. So with weather incorporated, you do have to work harder when you're out running, but because you're running, it's just normal situations. It's rain, it's windy, it's dry, it's hot. You work harder without really knowing you're working harder, and so your workouts are actually far more beneficial than if you were on a treadmill. And following on from that, it's just good for the mind, it's good for the soul, it's good for the body, because you can do a lot of thinking when you have the fresh air, a lot of reflection on life. That's what I do anyway. So with different scenery, it's more likely that you won't get bored and demotivated effectively to train, because I can do the same loop 5 times around where I live. It's a 3-mile loop. I can do the same loop and see different people, the wind's moving, the cars are going around. There's always a different distraction, whereas when you're on a treadmill, it's just... Now, with all that being said, all the fun stuff out of the way, there are cons of road running, of course. The major one is impact. Now, you have the same impact on the treadmill, you also have impact on a road. It's a different level, but it's harder. It's onto a solid surface. A treadmill has the springs underneath the treadmill to soften the landing, makes it easier to go. But on a road, the impact through your ankles and knees is consistent and it is always there. That's why I wouldn't recommend doing all of your training on one or the other. There's an even balance. Second and final con that I can think of for road running is carrying nutrition. Because I'm going longer distances, if I'm on a 10-mile run, I need 2 gels and 2 bottles of water minimum. That means I have to carry it with me if I'm out and about, and I can't just chuck it on the floor, and running with a bag is rather uncomfortable because it's bouncing. They don't always fit right. I've actually invested in a vest. It's got like a bladder in it. Very good, camel bag type thing. Anyway, I digress. If you don't have the money to get one of those, because they're not cheap, carrying your nutrition on long runs it's a major downfall, unless you're doing the same loop and then just leave your stuff on the side by your house and hope it doesn't get pinched. But there you go. There is some pros and cons to road running versus treadmill running. The training is going on, it is happening, and I hope this helps, and I hope you stay motivated, keep going, keep training. Trying to film this week's video has brought to light the difficulty of running with this full-size vlogging camera. It's not very ergonomically pleasing, let's say. So we've downsized. Everyone knows what a GoPro is. It is a mini, lightweight, durable camera that I can run with, train with, carry, and it is very easy to maneuver and keep in a pocket because it is about yay big. A quarter of the size of the vlogging camera that I'm recording this on at the moment. So there you go. Update, upgrade.